have prayers along the way, miss. Okay, we have prayers. We have an agenda, and I can share it with you tonight. We have an opening song, we have a prayer, we have the national anthem, we have the welcome remarks, we have song by the DJ, we have an address by our MP, we have another song by the DJ, and we have your questions, your queries, and your suggestions. And of course, we have thank you remarks. So we are going to listen to the opening song. Thank you.
We hand you back to the Master of Ceremonies as we continue here tonight.
Okay, so like we said, we want the Lord to be in our midst tonight. So we start with a prayer by Mario Emmanuel. So let's prepare our hearts for the word.
Hello, good night. Good night, everybody. You just want to close your eyes. Feel free to, however you pray, to just give God praise. Wonderful, precious, and marvelous God, as we come before you tonight, O God Almighty. We ask that you may be in our midst, O God Almighty. We ask, O God, that you may cover us under your precious blood. We ask, O God Almighty, that you may take full charge and full control in this place, O God. Lord, let your presence be embraced and be felt, O God Almighty. Let every word which is spoken and every query which is made, O God Almighty, let it not just be on deaf ears, O God Almighty, but let it take its full manifestation, both in the spiritual realm and in the physical realm, O God Almighty. So as we give you the glory, the honor, and the praise tonight, O God, we ask, O God, that you may take and cover this place, O God. Open our hearts and our minds to receive. Open the heart and mind of the district rep, oh God Almighty, so that he, oh God, may give us the answers that we need, oh God. Not necessarily what we want to hear, but those that we need for the betterment of the entire constituency, oh God. So as we present and we give all these things into your hands, we ask that you may take charge and full control. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, we pray. Isi Swati.
Amen. Okay, so of course we cannot do this without us making sure we start off with the national anthem. So can we all stand as we listen to the national anthem by the DJ? Thank you, thank you. So like I said earlier when I started off, you can have a seat. Sorry, have a seat. Like I said when we started earlier, the purpose of the meeting today is for our progress and our development. It is not a political meeting. It is a meeting whereby you speak and you bring forth your point. We expect all of us to be respectful in whatever points that we bring out, all in the development of our community. It's not for our MP. It's not anything personal against him. We are here for the development of Malgretoute. So I urge you to speak out, make your comments, make your suggestions. It's all for our progress, and let us do it in love, peace, and unity. Let's remember that. Love, peace, and unity. If we are going to progress in our community and we do not have love, peace, and unity, it's not going to work. Even though we may want a center, we may want a playing field, and we do not have love, peace, and unity, and God in the midst of it, ipakay travay. So, makay di akweyol, nou ni pou fè tout bagay. Fire, we will give you an opportunity to speak, okay? So, when it's your turn, when it's the question and suggestion, don't speak in French. Speak English or patois. So, maka pali ba wachwema. Okay, so listen. You'll have your time to ask questions. Okay? I think we should give him an opportunity to make his comment, but at the right time. Okay, Fire? So, at the right time, you will speak. Okay, thank you. So, at this time, we'd like you to be. That's important. Okay, so Oswaya nou ka pale about avancement di commune Malgretoute, et ça nou ka pale about. Nou ka pale about li an l'amour, an l'amitié pour yon an l'autre. So si nou pani ça, nou pa kay sa wè pièce center fête, be pièce chimé wanje, be pièce l'envier wanje. So nous ni pour make sure whatever decision nous ka parler Oswaya, c'est pour l'amitié pour yon an l'autre. So, comme je dis ça, moi kay ba ou nous ka écouter chanter by DJ from Bob Marley, okay? Merci. MP for Micoud North, Mr. Honorable Jeremiah Norbert. So let's welcome him.
Good night. Good night. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Masters of Ceremonies. Let me first say a wonderful good night and thank you to all of you who are here tonight and who have taken time out to be present. And I think Miss Emmanuel said it very well. Tonight it's not a meeting, it's a discourse, it's a dialogue about how we pave the way forward for Malgretoute. What can be done to improve the conditions in Malgretoute? What are some of your needs? What are some of the things you think that the community need? And how can you, she said it very well, that we may come with all the plans, we can put all the infrastructure, but if we are not together, and I think that is the key to take away tonight, that if we are not together, that whatever plans we have, whatever initiatives we implement, whatever we do, the buildings, the roads, the facilities, if we are not together, there is no way that we are going to be able to benefit from that. So tonight, the meeting is about you, where your community is. We're going to have an honest discussion about where the community is now, where Malgretoute is now, where we want to see Malgretoute, and how can all of us, not just the parliament rep, but how can all of us in this room, those on the outside, those in the diaspora, everybody who has an interest in Malgretoute, how can they play their part in helping shape and mold the Malgretoute that we would like to see? I remember coming here and I'm happy that you made it very clear that this is not a political meeting. The politics has been over, it's over a year, and now it's about community, it's about working together, it's about the development, the overall development of the community, overall development of Malgretoute. I remember when just before the election last year, I had a town hall meeting, or I had a campaign meeting right outside. And one of the things I promised you, the people of Malgretoute, is that I was not going to become the parliamentary rep and disappear or go into exile. And you all would have access to me the same way that I made myself available during the election period. I'll continue making myself available during my tenure as a politician, because I am of the firm belief that in order for us to prosper, in order for me to be able to give you the type of effective representation that you desire, I need to know, I need to be able to feel your pulse, I need to know what it is that you want. And I don't believe in sitting in my office and making decisions for everybody in Malgretoute from my office. That is me giving you what I want, and that is not the type of representation that I want to afford you. I want you to be part of everything that happens in your community. I want you to be intimately involved in the development of your community. And if you are intimately involved, then we stand a good chance of you appreciating the development of your community and the things that you ask for, because it's not imposed on you. So this meeting or this dialogue that we are going to have is to pave the way, and tonight I'm hoping that we can set timelines as well, and we're not just going to be speaking, but we can set timelines and we can follow up on the timelines as it relates to what you want to see in the community. As a government, I can tell you the last year we've been in office for a little over a year. It has not been the easiest of years, but I think that we've done well. But as I said last night, I was in a meeting in Patience. One of my concerns is that the direct or the overall policies of the government, it benefits everyone, but there are policies that benefit communities directly. And I think that we can do a lot more in terms of putting in place certain things that can benefit the people of Malgretoute. And I remember you expressing concerns about Malgretoute, and I think some of the concerns that were raised when I had the first meeting here is that Malgretoute has been a forgotten area in the community. Malgretoute has been considered like the outcast. We don't come there. And in all honesty, I think I've tried to make my presence felt in Malgretoute from last year till this year. I constantly visit the people in Malgretoute, constantly on the ground, constantly come to see what is happening in Malgretoute and what can we do. But tonight I'm happy to not just be passing to see, but to be able to sit down with you all in a room and for us to be able to have honest, and that's why I said I want the conversation to be an honest one tonight. Do not feel intimidated because I'm the parliament rep to tell me that if you're not satisfied with what has happened, tell me. The only way we can improve on what what is there is if you are honest about it. If you tell me, si zodi mwen zo satisfait, mwen kwe zo satisfait, then mwen kade, ok, tout jen Malgretoute satisfait, mwen pa nan pou fè la anko. So, mwen pa vle zodi, oh, because se replan, mwen pa ka di replan dat mwen pa satisfait. Se ou pa satisfait, di mwen. Sou wè bay, ki brizin fèt, ka y fè kombine plimè, di mwen. So, mwen sav ki mwenye nou sa, paske tout moun yon responsabilité, tout jen Malgretoute. C'est ça qui c'est ça qui l'autre pays. Nous tous yon responsabilité pour nous jouer rôle, nous, pour nous aider développement Malgretoute. So, c'est à moi vle, les nous kay ouvert floor pour moun demander questions, et pas pour juste demander questions. Si la nan yé ou quoi qui brisé fait, moi vle pour opportunité pour dire moi ça ouais dat Malgretoute brisé, qui manière nous ça fait Malgretoute primaire parce que comme nous pas ça ouété, moi pas ka rester Malgretoute. So moi pas ça juste ouété d'office moi dit OK moi que moun ça brisé canal de Kaili. Eh bien oh moi que Malgretoute brisé un cinéma. Non. Ou qui ka ouété là ou qui savent situation là ou ka ça dit moi qui ça ou brisé en commune. So tonight this is what this conversation is about. As I said, we've done quite a bit in terms of national government policies at the national level. But I think that there's a lot more that we can do at the community level that can benefit the community directly. And Malgretoute is a community as small as it is. I don't know if we're looking at per capita, as you say, you look at the amount of people in the little community. If we're looking at per capita, I think Malgretoute is one of the most well-achieved communities in St. Lucia. Malgretoute has produced, and you should be extremely proud of yourself. Malgretoute has produced some of the best cricketers that we know. And I see you watching Mickey, see Malgretoute has produced this brilliant child sitting down in front there. And Malgretoute has produced a Shem who has gone to the international stage and pole vault for St. Lucia. We have a mini studio right behind us. So Malgretoute is full of talent. I was just telling them Malgretoute has produced PSCs. Malgretoute has produced, name it, teachers, name it, we have it in Malgretoute. Notwithstanding that, you look at the development of Malgretoute over the years, and you ask yourself, a community that has produced so much. A lot of the people, a lot of the minds which have been produced in Malgretoute, I think because of the slow rate at which development happens in Malgretoute, they find themselves leaving the community and trying to find a safe place somewhere else. And we need to create a community. We need to create a Malgretoute where where you're born, you want to die. Your navel is buried there, you feel comfortable living your life there and not having to run and leave your community because there is not enough development there. And as I said about under the government's policies, national policies, I want the people of Malgretoute to benefit in a similar way that the people of Castries and Grosile and Vieux-Fort can benefit. And it is my job as a parliamentary rep to ensure that I do everything within my power to give every one of you, especially our young people, equal access to opportunities. I think it is unfair that because someone is from Grosile or Castries, that they have better access to the youth economy than somebody from Malgretoute. And we have a chance to change that, and we can start changing it tonight. We have a chance to ensure that everybody, like Romario is a talented young man. And when I go, I speak about him and his talents. However, we need to change, we need to develop these talents into viable employment opportunities. Malgretoute was the first movie I saw from the community came from Malgretoute. I saw cowboys and cops and all crooks and all sorts of things. And it speaks to the talent. It speaks to the talent of the people of Malgretoute. In a time when there was very little access, you were able to accomplish so much. What do you think you can do now? And we need to ensure that we don't just develop our young people to take over Malgretoute, but to become global citizens. Develop you so that even if you were to leave Malgretoute and go anywhere in the world, you are a global citizen. You can easily adapt when you get there. So there are opportunities. In the youth economy, we have a youth economy which was recently launched. And the whole idea behind the youth economy is to ensure that people who don't have access, we have young people who have the talent, they have the ideas, but one of the difficulties they find, one of the difficulties that they're faced with is the ability to access financing, the ability to get proper training, the ability to have quality monitoring where you can get the guidance like a big brother holding your hand and guiding you through the process. The youth economy aims to eliminate this problem. And I want all young people in Malgretoute, come and ask me as your rep, how can I benefit from the youth economy? I promise you that I will do everything within my power to ensure that you, the people of Malgretoute, have equal access to every opportunity, from scholarships to access to the youth economy, every opportunity, everything that the government puts out there. I want you to be able to benefit in a similar way as a person from Grozile or anywhere else in the country. So this is why I'm here tonight, to ensure that you, the people of Malgretoute, and you too have to feel comfortable, you have to feel emboldened to come and speak to your rep and to make your voices heard. Take away the politics, as I said. That is gone. Take away the politics. And anyone who knows me and knows my heart knows that for me it is about the development of my community. I think if my community is doing well, if my constituency is doing well, I am doing well. It reflects good on me. So for me it is about the development of community. As we speak about infrastructure tonight, I want to make, before I open the floor for questions, quick mention of the center behind us and what are some of my plans for Malgretoute. And I don't, as I said, my plans. I want to say what are our plans for Malgretoute. Because the center, whatever we do in the center, it will be for you. It will not be for me as the rep. But one of the deficiencies we have in the community is the lack of a communal space. So tonight we must have the meeting at Bousquet because we don't have a community center, or we don't have somewhere within the community that we can all gather and call it a communal space. So we have an opportunity to change that. I have been in conversation, in constant conversation with individuals from the OECS about refurbishing and renovating the center behind us. And I have good news. We've been able to access some of the funding required to do the work in the center. However, as I said, the center is not going to be utilized by Jeremiah and Norbert. The center will be for the boys, the girls, the ladies, the mothers, the fathers, the children of Malgretoute. And I want you to be intimately involved when the work is happening in the center. I refuse to take any decisions. And this is one of the reasons I had the meeting. When I had the meeting with the people from the OECS and they asked me about what are my plans for the center, I refused to take a decision by myself. I wanted to bring it to you, tell you what is available, what would you like to see happen in the center, what purpose you think the center can serve, and then take your ideas along with mine and say, okay, this is what we're going to do with the center. But not Jeremiah just saying, oh, I'm going to do a 3-story building over there. No, I want you to be involved. I want you to share what you think should happen in that center. I want you to be involved in the development of your community. It gives you a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging, a sense of pride that this is mine. I played a part in it. There is also, I know that you all have also been plagued by flooding. And we've seen once heavy rains falls, we see the situation with the flooding in Malgretoute. I can tell you too that we've already been able to source some funding with the same OECS project to be able to put gable baskets on the river banks to try to mitigate the problem of flooding. And I'm happy to announce that my hope is that Malgretoute will no longer flood. So I'm hoping that when these works are done and with the continuous desilting, that the problem that you'll have of flooding will once and for all be no more. So, when we open the floor, I'm hoping that you all can tell me what would you like to see in the center. Also, the area for where the old laundry, that's what it was? Yes, the old laundry. The area where the old laundry was, I mean, it's an eyesore now. It's just a derelict place, it's broken down walls. I would love for you all to propose what you all would like to see happen there. I want you all to tell me. I know what, in my mind, I know I have an idea as to what I want to see there. But I want it to come from you, the people of Malgretoute. And I will keep on repeating what Miss Leah Emmanuel said. We can put in all the infrastructure, all the projects. If we are not together as a community, if we continue fighting one another, if we're divided in our efforts, these things will just be buildings. We have to work together. Parents, you have a responsibility to ensure that you try to establish that sense of discipline, that sense of volunteerism in your children. Right now we have a situation where nobody does anything for nothing. Everybody you ask to do something, how much money you paying me? What's the contract? What's the sound you buy? And we need to change that culture. Not saying that it is wrong for you to want to work for your money, but to believe that everything you do, you must get paid. I mean, people like Leah who were there before us and other individuals, other of the senior individuals in the room can tell you that things like even the community center, there was community spirit involved. There was serious community spirit involved in the construction of the center. And that is why today you have a center. If everybody had to wait for when they get a contract to go and do a center, I'm sure it would be way. And that is one of the things that is plaguing us right now, where no one wants to do anything if you're not paying them. We have an opportunity to change that. We have an opportunity to ensure that we empower our people so that you can be in a position to work. Because I say, I give you a contract for 6 days or 7 days, and then what happens after that? For the rest of the year, what happens? We have to create an environment that is enabling, that is conducive, where you as young people can thrive. And that is why I've promised to make it my responsibility to ensure that you have equal access to opportunities. And everything that the government offers, that you have an opportunity to benefit from it, just like every other child in St. Lucia, every other adult in St. Lucia, every other person in St. Lucia. There are also a lot of opportunities that we can benefit from. However, for us to be able to benefit from these opportunities, you must have proper structure and organizations. The organizations must have structure, and by structure is not just having a mothers and fathers group, but a group that is registered, a group that has bylaws, and Malgretoute is a very small community. And there's an opportunity in that to have tight-knit relationships, to put in the groups. Everybody knows everybody in Malgretoute. And we have an opportunity to have groups which are tight-knit, put in the structure, and I'm also willing to assist you all in terms of providing you all with consultancy if there is any groups that you all want to put together. From the young individuals to the senior individuals, if there is a group or structure, an idea that you think you have, and you believe that it can benefit the people of Malgretoute, I'm willing to provide the assistance in terms of consultation to assist with developing the group, putting the bylaws together for the group. And I say that because the two projects that I just spoke about for Malgretoute, if we had to rely on central government, if we had to wait on the government to come and save us, I don't know if this building would ever get any attention. It is because of groups like OECS. But they have a lot of times when we have opportunities, but the government is not in a position to benefit from the opportunities. However, if you have a group, or if you have a proper structure in the community, or community-based organization, you'd be in a position to benefit. But the government would not. They have a lot of foreign donors, international donor agencies that will not give government their money. But they will ensure that they give it to a group that is doing things to help develop the community. But we need to ensure that we have these groups and the structures are there, they are in place. The young people in Malgretoute, and I see quite a few young people in Malgretoute, there is a serious opportunity to come together under one umbrella and start to help build and create the Malgretoute that you want to see. Everybody is not going to be a doctor. Everybody is not going to be a teacher, a lawyer. And there is no shame in becoming a farmer. And one of the things that we have done as a community is that we've stigmatized farming. And our children believe now that if you tell them that I want you to become a farmer, it's like either you're disrespecting them, or you're trying to embarrass them, or we've cultured our children in such a way to believe that agriculture is punishment. And agriculture is the reason why a lot of us were able to go to school. Agriculture is the reason why a lot of us have a roof over our head. But today we stigmatize agriculture. In a climate when we saw what COVID did. We see what is happening in the supermarkets right now in terms of the high rates of inflation. Every day you go to the supermarket, groceries go up. The $100 that you had today, when you go tomorrow, it cannot buy the same thing that you bought today. And that is a reality. And this speaks to the importance of agriculture. Right now, there are quite a few incentives from central government, especially for young people who want to get into the agricultural industry. We have a lot of lands in the community, quite a bit of lands, a lot of farms which have been abandoned. And last night I said it, I am going to work on an initiative to get farmers who have abandoned their farms, farmers who are no longer able to work their farms. We need to find some mechanism where they can give the lands or lease the lands to young farmers who have a keen interest in agriculture. One of the issues we have is access to the farm roads. As we speak, I'm working on quite a few of the farm roads to create better access so that more people can go up and down on their farms. So with this said, I want to be able to open the floor to you now for your suggestions. As I said, one of the things for discussion is the area where the laundry is. What would you like to see there? What do you think Malgretoute needs? And how do you, not just what you think Malgretoute needs, I also want you to tell me what are some of the problems that you have in Malgretoute right now. And how can you assist in helping shape and build that Malgretoute that you want to see. Remember that the rep cannot do everything by himself. I am one individual. I may have an idea, but I am one individual. So I want you to take the opportunity tonight to ask the questions. Don't think that any question is not a good question. Whatever you're thinking, ask your questions. And let us have a good discussion. And let us see what recommendations we can take from this meeting tonight. And what can we do to help better Malgretoute? What can we do to help develop Malgretoute? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Jeremiah Norbert. So, the MP did tell us that we hear about solutions. Nous là pour solution. Nous là pour demander toute question ni. Pas quoi question pas important. Toute question important au soir. So, demander question pour rejoindre ou même qu'à venir avec solution pour question, mais then nous qu'à buy question pour district rep là. So, nous tous comprenons? So, actuellement, nous qu'à écouter un chanté from DJ et then nous qu'à ouvrir floor about pour demander questions, pour faire suggestions et puis query you.
Madam Emmanuel, I get the funny feeling that there are so many questions from Malgretoute tonight, I'm going to skip the song. I want to make sure everybody get a chance to ask their question.
Totally agree, DJ, because look, we have a question already because
yes.
ever since...
So I'm going to take the mic to the first person who's ready to ask their question. Just raise your hand, I'm going to take the mic to you. If you want to ask a question, people don't wait for Jeremiah Oliver. Tell him what you want. Tell him what you're looking forward to. This is the time, this is the opportunity to ask your question. Did I see a hand somewhere? Don't be shy, Malgretoute. I know you want to know what's happening with the preschool, so ask him. Don't wait for when he leaves. Ask him now.
Hi, good night. Can we get a double story for the community center? Like we want the top. We want something like, we want a library in there and some computers, access to internet. And where the laundry was, I was thinking something like a court, because since we cannot get a field.
Okay. Thank you, Chanel. So, just like you, I was thinking of going up with the center. However, the buildings unit from the Ministry of Infrastructure, they've been there to do an assessment. And one of the concerns that they have is when the structure was built initially, it was built just to have one floor on a roof. And I think there's something called holding or weight-bearing capacity. So the foundation, the initial foundation, would not be able to take on the weight of another floor. They're exploring options of going with columns around and go higher. But in terms of decking and going, it might pose a problem because when it was built initially, it was not built with that in mind. So if you go this way, it may pose a problem. But we're still exploring the options of putting columns in each corner of it to see if we can go higher.
And just before Miss Emmanuel continues, our Master of Ceremonies, we just want to let you know if you're feeling a little thirsty, there's some water available across there. And those of you who have not signed the register, just your name, your number, your occupation, would appreciate if you do so we can reach out to you when opportunities are available. Ms. Emmanuel, back to you.
Thank you. Any questions? Remember, today is, we're here to strive for full restoration of our community. So your question is very important. Question very important also, yeah.
Just a reminder, Miss Emmanuel, I was reminded by another floor member that Miss Chanel's question was in two parts. She did ask about the community center, but she also mentioned the possibility of placing a cot where the laundry is. So I don't know if the minister wants to address this, or honorable member.
Okay, thank you. So as it relates to the area where the laundry is, I did note your recommendation, and and that is why I said that we're having a conversation. I want to hear from other individuals, because what we want to do is we want to ensure that whatever we give you is something that you want and not something that the rep just comes and imposes on you. I like the idea of a court because I know one of the things that is lacking is a space where the children can play or they can recreate. So I like the idea of the court. So I do not know how much land is available there and what are the dimensions that you require in order for you to place a court. But I wrote down the recommendation, and I will ask to see whether this area can actually take a court. Given that the rest of the community, because I don't want them to say, oh, Chanel, m'a pour a court, I could just buy Chanel a court. We want to hear, and pour ça nous m'a tout le monde, pour dire nous ça zo vle là, ça zo quoi kay plimer là, parce que nous pas vle just voir un bagay à sous zo, nous vle zo dire nous ça zo quoi qui kay fait, ça zo brisé avec ça zo quoi kay one zo bien là. So pour ça nous voulons turn from tout le monde, so at least les nous buy zo, ça nous buy zo, c'est bagay zo vle, et c'est pas un bagay replan just buy zo parce que il just quoi, if just vle buy, j'aimerais que tu le buy, so il just large sans les zo.
The young people outside, come in, ask your questions. It's your opportunity.
Miss Emmanuel, we have someone across there.
Thank you. We did have a little development plan some years ago with ideas from the community. So it included things like having somewhere where farmers can sell their goods, maybe on the roadside. Obviously the children wanted a playing field. That was something they desperately needed. So we could always sort of go back and refer to that. I think there's three things. There's one level where, we want the government to help us do certain things, like the community centre, and maybe clearing the gutter, somebody who keeps the community tidy. We used to have someone who had a contract for cleaning the street where they can build. So if there's opportunity to give people a place where they could build, I think they'd be very happy with that, because they need to have that base. I also think we need to work with the schools to identify the children with potential, so we work together, because we don't know, who's got what potential. I don't see their school reports. So, that would be a good idea, to work a bit more closely with the schools. And like Jeremiah said, a lot of things happen in Castries and we always miss out. So if there's something creative, for example, maybe there can be a bus that takes our children there to join in, so they can raise their aspirations and see, what is happening. And I'm very interested in the creativity. We have lots of musicians here. We have them in Micoud. I tried to encourage some of them. I did a spoken word event some years ago. So maybe, if you could sponsor an event for music. We also have fantastic artists. We did an art competition some years ago, and the work was absolutely amazing. So those people need an opportunity to show what they can do. And currently, they don't have that. So more places where they can exhibit, and feel, yes, somebody really values our talent. And the danger of not using talents is that we're going to have people turning to drugs. We don't want a community with drugs. We want a community, where people can excel at what they're good at and be successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give the Honorable Parliamentary Rep an opportunity to respond to the fine lady who made her comments.
Okay, so As it relates to the general upkeep of the area, and even by the bus stop area, we have a Micoud North Constituency Council, and this is why we have organizations, so you can delegate responsibilities to them. And they have, I say the chair of the council was somewhere in the back, and they have the responsibility of ensuring that, I know that they're, in terms of capacity and human resource, it's a bit limited, and sometimes they're under a bit of a strain to try to meet up with their regular scheduling. But they have the responsibility to take care of the drains and the garbage and all these sorts of things. They have the responsibility to do that. But even with the council being entrusted with that responsibility, we have, as a community, and that is what I find very strange. Before, persons would notice some clogging in front of their home and they would take the initiative and remove it. Right now I have a situation where somebody will tell me, boss man, my house is in front of my house flooding, give me a job to clear the drain in front of my house. And we can help ourselves at times. We can help ourselves at times, and that is why I have to keep going back to what Leah said. We have to work together. We cannot wait on just the agencies and the branches of central government and local government to do everything for us. There are times when we can do things to help ourselves, to help fix some of the issues that we have. As it relates to the mentoring for the young people, that I totally agree with. I mean, when you started speaking about the mentoring, I started thinking of what can be done and what space, and that is why it is important to have a communal space that you can utilize for programs like these. And we need, as much as we may have the ideas and we have certain things that we want to do, in Malgretoute, you would need a space. You definitely would need a space for you to carry out some of the programs and the activities. Land for building. I also heard you mention about land and the access, people having access to lands. In Malgretoute, I have my own concerns about some of the issues and some of the disputes as it relates to land. And until this situation is regularized, we are going to have a little bit of hiccup in the process, because the government is not in a position to just go and give people permission to build on private lands. If it's crown lands, then it's an easier situation to work about. But it is something that we're looking into in terms of making lands more accessible, especially to young people. Given the increased cost of living and the increased cost of property and real estate, it becomes so difficult for young people now to acquire or attain a piece of property. And we're trying to see what can be done, what general policy we can put in place to give young people an equal opportunity, St. Lucians an opportunity to own a piece of St. Lucia, because we have people coming from overseas all the time and they buy a beautiful piece of land in St. Lucia. Whereas you have St. Lucians who grow, and sometimes they get old, senior, and they're not in a position where they can afford a piece of land. So we're trying to see what can be done to make land more accessible to our people, especially young people and those who are interested in lands for agriculture. I think I made mention of that earlier. I'm willing to facilitate the discourse with individuals. And if there is anyone in Malgretoute who has land and they've abandoned their farms or they're no longer interested in the farms, I would love them to engage me in conversation so that we can now ensure that there is continuity, that young people who are coming, young budding farmers, can take over these lands. And I will play my part in ensuring that there is access to these lands. I will play my part to ensure that they have access to the equal incentives under the Ministry of Agriculture like everybody else. I will do my part in ensuring that I create the avenue and ensure that there is an environment that is enabling, one that is conducive for young people, young farmers to thrive. But we all have to put our hands together to achieve what we want. I think there's a bit of over-reliance, if you want to call it that, on central government. And over the years, we've deviated from the culture that kept that social fabric together. Avant tout le monde te ka gade kote on a lot, amon bouy man e topic amado e souvle tak apre lan moun ki do yo si me eti man yo passe yo bay moun ki a sou kote yo anti choma e ek ça c'est pas qu'il te a noté ni avant qu'il te a noté avant tout le monde ka check by tout le monde ek ode a nous n'entend ko moun oui vient de manière moun pa ka check pour yo nan l'autre corps moun ka pli goumen yo nan l'autre corps mais nous ça changer ça. All is not lost. We have an opportunity to change that. We have the opportunity to change the tides, we have an opportunity to spin things around and to create what we want to see. And I don't want the meeting that I'm having here with you all tonight, I don't want it to just be a meeting just because I want to come. I said during the elections that I was going to come and have a meeting with you all. I want it to be a meeting that is going to be followed by action. I want a meeting that is going to come with commitments from all of you as to what you want to do, how you think you can serve. If we are to put a committee together in Malgretoute, how many of you all are willing to be on board? How many of you all are willing to give up your time? How many of you all are willing to sacrifice your time, your efforts, the knowledge that you possess to be able to help other young people in the community develop? So tonight, I'm looking for commitments from the community. Not just the rep. For me, I'm giving you all my full commitment that I will do everything that I can, everything, to be able to create that environment for you all, to create the opportunities, to give you all the equal opportunities to access. I will play my part. I am asking you now to play your part. What would you like to see? What can you do to benefit your community? So I want to invite everybody tonight. Take up the challenge. Let's create a group in Malgretoute. Let's create an action group in Malgretoute that will take responsibility for the development of Malgretoute. I want you to spearhead it, and I assist in every way that I can. And if you spearhead it, and you're sitting and watching your community grow, you'll be very inclined to continue. So let's not just wait on the rep, let us play our part. So that is what I have to say as it relates to your statements. I thank you for your comments, and I think you have wonderful ideas. I like the idea that you all had an open mic or spoken word session, and Malgretoute has a lot of talent, and I said that earlier. We have quite a few individuals in the community who are very talented, from Shem and Romario, and just name it. We have quite a few talented individuals in the community, both in the sporting discipline and in the creatives. We've seen, I don't know if it was with a phone, but Malgretoute, they shot an entire movie, an entire cast, and that was a long time ago. So you can imagine, with access to better internet and better quality equipment, what can happen now. And these are the opportunities that we have to build upon.
Well, those persons can be mentors to the young men in the community, because the community has produced a lot of well-known individuals. I may not remember all of their names, but then this community is a very wealthy community. And even maybe one day, we may present a documentary to really show what the community has produced over the years. So I see tonight is an opportune time, and I'm hoping persons are listening, and whereby they can make a contribution to the mentorship program that Ms. Ronnie spoke about. Any other questions? The floor is open.
Yes, Mr. Emmanuel, you mentioned Romario, and he's ready for the microphone.
And just before your question, Romario, Mrs. Emmanuel, I think this is a wonderful initiative to get those individuals who have made it, those people who have their navels buried in Malgretoute but have left the community. I think this call to come back to community and give back, I think this is perfect. And that is what it should be about. The community made you, and you come back and you give to your community. So I really applaud you for making such a comment, and I think that this is something that I'm going to make it my duty to try to reach out to some of these individuals, so that we can start the actual mentorship program, so that other people in Malgretoute can know that here's what the community produced the PS at economic development. Yeah, this is where his navel is buried. The community produced Miss Leah Emmanuel. The community produced Craig Emmanuel. It produced Romario. It produced Shem. Shem is one of the young individuals who went, the national stage has seen him pole vaulting. The international stage, he has gone pole vaulting at the international stage. And even from where he resides, he's able to create beats and make music. And the song...
Yeah, good night, everybody. Good night, the Honorable Representative. There's a number of initiatives that has been done in the community. And to me, from my understanding of knowing my community well, I would blame a number of issues in my community on the lack of information. You know, if it would be possible that we could be more informed in the community about different strategies, different things that could get implemented to help us with different situations. For example, we had a river stabilization project where a number of trees were planted on the sides of the river. And that has just died out. So I guess if we understand and we are informed, because there are a number of different organizations, I mean on Facebook, on the internet, I see that there's Plant a Tree. There's a Plant a Tree organization which is ready to fund any individual willing to plant trees. So simple. And I think if we are able to access these types of information, the talents, the abilities of the community would be more understood and more seen, you know, to both the international and regional. And that didn't really materialize. They told us that they would issue us walkie-talkies and different things, you know, when disasters take place, and that didn't come through. So I think it's more an information with the internet, you know, I think it's more an information problem than anything else. So I guess if you could help us with the free delivering of information, that would be a great help in my community.
Okay, thank you, Romario. I do share your concern as it relates to the dissemination of information, but that is where the togetherness comes in. That is where Malgretoute is a very small community, and that is where if you are tight-knit and you have organizational structures in place, it becomes very easy now to disseminate information. One of the difficulties you have is that it is very difficult if you don't have a group, and especially in a small community like Malgretoute, if you don't have a structured group, it becomes very difficult for you to go house to house and tell everybody of what opportunities are there, what opportunities you can benefit from or you can derive benefits from. It's very difficult, and especially in a time where we have social media and we have the internet, if you have a group or you have a body within the community, and that is why I keep speaking to the fact of having a structure and a group in place. So if Malgretoute has a little group in place, a little Malgretoute Development Committee, whatever information comes, we can disseminate it directly to you and say, okay, here's what NIMO is having X, Y, and Z. Even with, when you mentioned about some of the projects that you cannot benefit from, and one of the things I said tonight is, I did not want to come and impose. I wanted you to be intimately involved in whatever development takes place in your community. And that is why I afforded you all an opportunity to tell me what you want. Dis-moi qui ça vous voulez commun, mais pas just venir faire bagay commun. And it's even for the institutions like NIMO and OECS, they find it very difficult to deal with an individual in the community vis-a-vis dealing with a group or structure. It becomes a lot easier. There's a lot more benefit in having structures within the community that can benefit from the programs. And that is why I said that from the onset. We need to ensure that we establish groups within all group. Malgretoute just needs one strong group that can go, because everyone in Malgretoute is not in terms of the demographics. Malgretoute, I can walk from one end of Malgretoute to the next end. So we just need to ensure that we have the group so that we can disseminate the information in a way that everybody is aware of what are the developments, what are happening, what are the opportunities that I can benefit from. Everybody is in a position to be able to know. So one of the difficulties we have is the fact that you have a lack of groups. So yes, go ahead. And that's where the mindset comes in as well. And when we spoke earlier, Leah would have said it, that one of the things that we need to ensure is that our mindset, volunteerism is very important. Right now, we need to get people who understand that what you do today, whatever you do today is going to impact those people coming behind you tomorrow. So for us, it's about getting the proper mindset. And that's why I encouraged parents earlier to instill in our young people the importance in discipline, the value in discipline, the value in volunteerism, in giving selflessly, giving without expectations, not expecting to get anything tangible in return, but knowing that you're creating the environment where the little one, Zekal child, will come and inherit a Malgretoute that is better than the Malgretoute that you found. And that is where, if we understand it that way, and if we look at it that way, that here's what, I'm working today to create a better tomorrow for those coming behind me. But as I said, one of the things plaguing us is everybody believes that you have to give them something. It's a quid pro quo kind of mentality. You have to give me something for something. So, and that is why we need to change the culture. We need to change the mindset.
We have one question. Okay.
I just wanted to suggest, in terms of communication, maybe having a Facebook page for Micoud North, opportunities for Micoud North residents, so everybody can access that information, or a newsletter that comes out monthly, 2 monthly, that people can access. And also, when there's a group, somebody has to take responsibility to minute and publish the minutes where people can read them. So when I used to take minutes, we used to put them up outside this hall, outside the community centre, so people can actually read what happened in the meeting. So it's not just that group that knows. Thank
you. Yeah, so thank you for this piece of advice, and thank you for giving me an idea as to how we can better disseminate the information in terms of putting the billboards or the bulletin boards outside. And especially in small communities, we can, and that's why I said it's about solutions, and we can identify some of the solutions. And I mean, every community is unique, or every sub-community is unique in its own way. But we know where is the hub in Malgretoute. We know where is the space where you come and you'll get people on a Friday night or Thursday night. So we can develop around these areas. We have the territorial knowledge. We know exactly what exists, then we can develop around these areas as to what is the best way and the best method to disseminate information. As it relates to the Facebook page, I do have a Micoud North Facebook page where we try, whatever scholarships comes on board, whatever happens in the community, we do try to post. I must admit that there's a lot more that we can do to help better the page and to have more content on the page. And in terms of consistency, sometimes it can become a bit overwhelming even with the person who manages the page. But we are working on it, and I think especially given that we're in a time where most young people are on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, we can utilize these methods to disseminate information so that young people can see, our senior people can see what is happening in the community.
Honorable Member, just before we come to one of the most senior and well-respected members of the community, I just want to piggyback on what you just mentioned in terms of your Facebook page. But you've said sometimes that it can become a bit overwhelming. Like the lovely lady across there suggested, that there needs to be greater use of social media for, as Romario mentioned, for persons to be informed of what's happening. Maybe we can attribute responsibility to the various communities under your Facebook page, if that would not be a problem. So Malgretoute will be responsible for populating the information about Malgretoute. Of course, with input from your good office. And say, for example, Monrepo has their own link, their own page, their own thing under your page, on the Micoud North constituency, where they too can give the various information that would be necessary for growth, development, and inclusivity. I now hand you over to this lovely lady across here who has been waiting her turn.
night, Mr. Norbert. Je merci en pile parce que ma savsi l'autre havine, ma c'est premier monde qui a présenté Malgretoute. Moi j'ai venu Malgretoute avec qualité meeting là on fait. Bon ça qui a affecté moi, gloire a affecté moi en pile. Gloire a affecté moi en pile. Et puis depuis après gloire la veille là, il te prend dernier bail moi ici, il croise la porte là il prend dernier bagage moi dernier bois moi était ici. Moi marché tout partout, marron pas un dollar. Et depuis après ça gloire a sorti en l'air là qui quand depuis gloire vini, il a dit dans un grand. Quoi ça a affecté mon bon titac. Et gloire a affecté nous en pile Malgretoute. C'est pas Dieu c'est moi dit là c'est ça moi dit. Gloire affecté moi puis là il prend dernier bagage moi ici avec marron pas dessous. Juste un jour qu'on rien. Je voulais un homme qu'on vienne ici, il n'y a pas qu'à venir faire meeting de moi apprécier. Moi apprécier meeting ça qu'on vient faire. Moi apprécier en pile parce que moi jamais fait un meeting qu'on a depuis moi qu'à voter. Fait que depuis moi 60 years now vote et puis moi 77 years à voter. Merci.
Merci, Mrs. Merci. Quand nous parlons de gloire et puis situation et puis gloire, so plus bonne à me do that moi si la ne pas fait me plaisir c'est that moi savent that nous ca adresser problème là à sous side lovea pour si nous ça mais ça va créer gable basket pour try appreciate gloire monter ici about ça qui rivo nous ca parler about ça après meeting là pour qui ça nous a fait pour faire là vous plaisir pour ba un petit relief nous ca parler about ça les moi fini et puis meeting là parce que moi savent situation nous t'es en conversation moi savent situation et puis moi aimer ça depuis 16 years ou ka voter qui ou 76 c'est qu'on pas jamais un meeting comme ça mais moi toujours te dit depuis un temps élection date moi que meeting important si là on est meeting qu'on savent ça c'est mon ka chiller ça yo vle ça yo briser ça ka affecter yo so là on est meeting qu'on savent date Google venir qui te avec tout ça misses ni ou savent latin Google et ka sorti ka affecter Google ka sorti l'over ka affecter jamais tout so moi quoi est important pour les meeting comme ça et moi ça do moi ça promet toi soir date moi ka continuer ka les meeting épisode quand nous ka aller moi ka continuer les meeting épisode pour qui manière bagay ka aller qui ça nous ça fait pour faire situation plus meilleure baïso
ek bo bater moi rekale menon juste blague moi rekale menon moi dit moi pas ça so kay prier nous de moi ha wa prochain 5 et 6 pour Malgretoute.
Merci Mrs.
Just before we move on to our next individual, since she mentioned the whole issue of the flooding in Malgretoute, that is a grave concern from us, from the fire department, because every time there's an adverse weather system, we are called upon for rescue, we are called upon as part of the cleanup, because Malgretoute becomes a walkway of mud, and I'm happy to hear you mention the whole idea of the Gideon baskets. I remember at some point in time, like Romario mentioned, there was that tree planting initiative. Additionally, I also remember there was the whole idea of the early warning system that was supposed to be implemented at the bridge, that as soon as the water level rises, there would be some kind of alarm system to the residents of Malgretoute so they could effect evacuation and things of that sort. My concern, having said all that, is that where do they evacuate to? This is a one-way in, one-way out. And this discussion has raised itself many times before without any positive solution. Out of here is, as we mentioned, one way in, one way out. They're bonded by the river. At the end of this road, if they keep heading in this direction, is the sea. The only alternative is up through the hills to get to Lapwing. But those who are very familiar with Malgretoute would be quite aware that there's quite a bit of rock formation that makes it difficult to actually construct a proper roadway. This does not completely eliminate the need to analyze and evaluate and investigate the potential for developing an escape route out of Malgretoute, because it remains a grave concern for the fire department that should there be a major disaster, and we are in the hurricane season as we speak, that residents of Malgretoute may suffer dire consequences that would leave us traumatized for many years to come. So I'm not expecting any relief in, say, short term, 6 months, a year, maybe even 2-3 years. But this is something that needs grave consideration. We must find some way to provide a means of evacuation for the residents of Malgretoute when the flood waters start rising. And we know everything comes down from Piton. Everything comes down. The trees, the stones, the snakes, everything comes down. So we need to find some way to alleviate this problem for the residents of Malgretoute.
Mr. Jabatis, maybe the district rep may not know, but then I remember there was conversations many years ago about the planned route of the road connecting Malgretoute to La Pointe. I am not sure as to where maybe we can get the plans of the road, but I know for sure that was in the pipeline many years ago. So maybe I should call upon the district rep to look at it for us and further investigate. But then that was the route, the connecting the concrete road to La Pointe. So I know for sure that was being worked upon when we were working as a committee for Malgretoute, but it's been a while.
I'm sure many residents of Malgretoute, including myself, who's not a resident, long for that day. But we move on to our next speaker, if the rep does not have to say anything on this at this time.
I just note what you said, Mr. Jabatis, and just like you, I believe that this believes a lot of consideration. I believe that this is something that requires serious consideration, and it is not just Mr. Jabatis who has expressed concern about the fact that Malgretoute is one way in, one way out, and what would happen in the event that there is an eventuality. So I think Mr. Nicolas Jabatis, in his, I must say, he brought it up to me even before the elections. He said, if there is one thing I want you to do during your term, is to give serious consideration to opening up Malgretoute. And it would not just create an evacuation route, but once you open up the area, a lot of the issues that we speak about in terms of land, you now have access, because once you have road and you have the necessary infrastructure, it creates more opportunities. So it is something that I will give serious consideration.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
We have a gentleman at the back here who wants to make his statement.
Yeah, good evening, everyone from Malgretoute and otherwise from other parts, right? It's a very, very unique opportunity for me, and I guess it's a message that I have to offer to the district rep, and it comes from my heart. First of all, I'll comment on a couple of points that has been made. We talk about, there is a part of the land up on the riverside that has a reserve. One of my ideas were to cultivate it with as many fruit crops as possible so that children whose families don't have orange trees, different plants, they could go up by the river, relax, and have it like a community garden. I started and provided many plants, and some of them are bearing now, like avocado and so on. It was an initiative for the community. So based on the reason why I'm saying that, I am born in Malgretoute, and everybody should know that I was born here in Malgretoute. And I am qualified basically to be crucified, knowing that you probably have ideas that the people have jeopardized, and probably have jeopardized our own community in not respecting, especially the ideas that we need to take us forward. As you say, we need mentors. That is one of the things, one of the important points. Personally, I have embarked on kind of building character. And in my struggle, in Patience, there was a meeting last night which I didn't know about. There is a situation in Patience which will catch the attention of the world very soon, because I have not taken any bribes and have decided to go all the way to let people from Patience know what is happening, and at least at one point to get them wise. Based on my experience in La Pointe, I guess I have been able to survive what many of us face in St. Lucia, and I believe, like Malgretoute people, we cannot survive on our own. I am one of the persons who was supposed to survive, and I've shown it, and I've proven it, and I've been to court with government for lands that I have handled it well, but being we are small, you know, and I'm not saying that I'm too small, but being we are small as a people, you may need lawyers to go through anything in St. Lucia and so on. So I did not take on a bribe to say, look, McDonald, accept $1 million, stop what you're doing. Instead, I remain as the underdog, and surely you can see people from Lapwet have been inspired because they would have liked to say, well, this man failed. Well, the message would have been here in Malgretoute that I have failed, or in Prale, or in so on. And I noticed that mentorship is very important, but I'll go further to say, I am one of those who have formed a very successful club, and I don't see anybody in the organizations here who have had a successful club. That club was organized, it was called Black Lions, and that was the best, one of the best organizations. Now, at that point, there was some sort of respect, you know. But I need to reiterate, I need to remind people of who they see when they see McDonald, right? And I make no bones about that. I make no bones about that. And mentorship, it really transcends. And you could feel it, but you may not accept, well, that McDonald is responsible. Prale don't have that kind of progress. Norbert don't have that kind of progress. We need it. I've been trying to push it, but I cannot go too far because of the obstacles. I'm into farming, but you cannot talk to the extension officers because of the way they relate to McDonald, again, because of that social problem that we have. That people seem to be eager to counteract any plans because probably they figure, well, none of us will survive. Or if you survive, they will take you down later. But I'm saying if we are a team, they cannot take us down. So the important thing is my contribution from Malgretoute will have to be, there will have to be a reset. A reset because of the tribulation that we have been through socially. Now I'm saying that if I cannot survive, there is no other person who is going to survive. You understand? Now I have faced that situation with the courts and so on, and I have provided some sort of route where we can do the same thing in Malgretoute, how we can manage the land. I am familiar to participate in the land in Malgretoute as well. And I guess like from people like me, my father raised in Malgretoute, raised me in Malgretoute. And as a mentor, my father himself was called the chief, Chef La. Okay. I personally took interest in what he was doing as a mentor, like he used to support the community, right? But then on my own, well, I could have been probably in the community as it is there and not making any progress, but I will not step in any way that doesn't make progress. In terms of having a committee, there are ways of utilizing the committee properly. As I always said, it's the cheapest investment and the most powerful investment. Once you can have a group of people together who are concerned, it don't cost as much money as we do when we waste money or go into other things like, for instance, what I was telling you. It's important to both encourage what I was trying to do, planting by the river with enough fruit plants, right, that every Malgretoute child can know that this is ours. When we go by the river, we can do oranges, we can do all the different fruits.
On that note, Mr. McDonald, just a second, if you can just pause.
Yeah.
I'm not stopping you in the intent of cutting you off. Just pause for a moment. I want the honorable member to have a chance to respond to you accordingly. Now, you have raised several issues here. So just pause. Let's allow him to address you, and we'll come back to you if you don't mind.
I don't know if I can really address his concerns because I think he was just echoing the sentiments, the general sentiments of majority of us in the room and what we think needs to be done or what requires to move forward in the community. So to address him personally, I think it's just a matter of him repeating or echoing some of the sentiments that we would have echoed here earlier about paving the way forward and what can be done in terms of committee and I like the idea of planting fruit trees along the river bank to ensure that individuals, I always said, in terms of beautification, I think it's so cheap to beautify a community. However, it requires a certain mindset. It requires a certain spirit. It requires a certain willpower. I want to see my community looking beautiful. Why can't I just plant 2, 3, 4, 5 flowers? Yes, Mr. Romario? Okay, thank you for that information, and I think that is an initiative that we can build on and grow and allow even more fruit trees. We can plant even more fruit trees to ensure that every child can get an orange, every child can get an avocado, whatever it is that we're planting. But I like this idea and this initiative, and I think that is something that we can build on moving forward.
Okay, well noted, Honorable Member. We will allow Mr. McDonald a further minute to wrap up, because there are several other persons there with comments. I see this young man eagerly waiting to have his question heard, and there are a few others. We want to give everybody an opportunity. So we'll allow Mr. McDonald to wrap up, and you would respond accordingly before we move on.
Yeah, thank you. And I would like to add to what you say there. I mean it a little bit more than a minute, because I think I'm representing Malgretoute, and this is one of the rare opportunities that I will ever have. And this is an opportunity where Malgretoute can be redeemed. I'm making no bones about it, you know. And agriculture, the extension officers, the last one I spoke to for this region, she never visited. They have never been visiting over the past decades. This one here right now, he's passing everything. You see all the equipment, everything. All I need, and I have been working on projects for the entire school, and many people have come to me to do their thesis. And I have my program was intended to serve as schools, but the governments of St. Lucia have no interest in that. So that's why we in the community must take interest. Now I'm getting blows, right? But the land which some white men have and some estate owners had, they have taken out and have had to fight back, right? So what I'm doing, I fight back, but again, policies have to engage the entire country and the entire Caribbean. And what we do here should be no different. Because recently, all of here would have been taken by foreigners. Everywhere here, everywhere. So that means there would be less opportunities for us to make progress. And governance must ensure that these things don't happen, that they don't sell out the land on people. There are ways of doing this, you know. But we are scared, and when I did it, to fight for what is ours, the government themselves took me to court. Well, again, I beat them, and they have done it behind my back. So these are things that need to be addressed at our level. How can you help McDonald in a situation where he's trying to help our country? Or even help humankind, right? So basically, it's about coming from Malgretoute. Doesn't make it any more, you know, it's a small community. And I can tell you, I'm one of the first who graduated from Malgretoute.
So
okay?
May I interject there,
No
Mr.
problem.
McDonald? So definitely that means you're on board to be a mentor for the community.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
born.
we can count you in.
That's what I was born for.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. You're the first mentor on the list. So Mr. McDonald is the first mentor on the list for Malgretoute. Thank you.
Hopefully, yeah. You will be hearing much more from me, maybe from the media. And that's all I can say. Thanks very much. And I appreciate that meeting very much. And I was hoping that the most important parts of it, that you have been here and you will allow us to have a committee to develop our community. And that is a great achievement.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Always important to accept the words of the wise. As we continue, we move on to a young man, and likewise, it is also important to allow the youth the opportunity to have their voice heard. So we move on to the young man right next to me.
Yes, good night to everybody. So yeah, since you all mentioned about unity and the community should come together, I find that we should have more activities where we could indulge ourselves, like the whole community, because I don't know when last we had a activity where all of us came together and probably had a movie night or build something together. I find we should have more activities, not just let's say we have a barbecue, like, you know, just to educate ourselves, to learn something, so we could just be united again, because we're not doing nothing in the community. Everybody at their home, since everybody have Wi-Fi now and thing. You know, everybody at their home, so I find that we should have more activities where we could come as one, since you all mentioned about everything that has been put in place for us. I find we should, like, that would be the best start for the community, if we could have more activities so we could be united in building up the community and whatever we have whenever you have in store in the community. And also, I like football. I don't know when last Malgretoute was registered in a competition, and it's like we don't have no head for that sporting aspect, and I think we need that help in that sporting aspect. Yes, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Your concern is a legitimate one in terms of there is no social activity, or there have been a lack of social activities within the community to bring people together, and we know the role that social activities play. It causes there to be social cohesion as well. People mingle with each other, as you said, they indulge with each other, they speak to each other, and it creates that type of environment where there is something that you look forward to. And because I am aware of that situation, I decided on Saturday to start. Let's start somewhere. I've decided that we're going to start somewhere, and on Saturday I've put together a games night for the people of Malgretoute, and I invite all individuals in Malgretoute to come and play Ludo, Scrabbles, Domino, Bingo, whatever it is. But we need to come together, and I think that is a start. Let us start it there. And it is because, just like you, I too was concerned about the lack of social activities within the community. But I will always say it, I have to also call on community members. I am the parliamentary rep. I will not be in a position to always put together activities for you, but we can start it. And I'm hoping that when we start it, that it just rekindles that fire, it rekindles that flame that is going to turn into that big thing that we're going to see. It becomes something that happens annually, maybe weekly, or every weekend it becomes something that can happen. Because I know the importance of having somewhere that you can go to and you can socialize, a positive place. And I think when she spoke earlier, she said when we don't have that social space, when we don't have activities to cause there to be social cohesion, we have our young men and women turn to illicit activities. And sometimes we ask, but why did he choose to go down that path? But then we have to sit and reflect and ask, what other path was there for him to go down, or what did we do to create something different for him? When we cast blame, we need to first think whether we created an environment to prevent it, or whether we created an environment and we did not give the young man or the young woman a chance to be able to explore something else, so they just went into what is there. So I do understand that, and as you say, like you, I love football, and I remember the days of when Malgretoute was always playing football at Owen. I remember the days when they used to train. There have times we used to pass when we came from school, to pass up there to see them train, and I know that it is something that the young people are yearning for, getting a space where you can still play your football, your cricket. And that is something that I plan on working on. That is a discussion I want to have with you all in terms of getting the lands where we can actually build a field. I think I spoke before we actually started the meeting. Miss Emmanuel and I engaged in a conversation about that. Where in Malgretoute can we find a proper piece of land? Maybe if we have to compulsory acquire it, we have to do so, to be able to give you an opportunity to play football just like the children in Micoud, those in Patience, those in Monrepo, and those in La Pointe. I don't think because you come from Malgretoute that you should be disadvantaged just because you come from Malgretoute. And that is why I kept stressing on the fact that we need to ensure whatever we do, we give you an equal opportunity. We give you access to the opportunities that everybody else have, and you should never be disadvantaged because you come from Malgretoute. Gone are the days, and it is my responsibility as parliamentary rep to try to do everything within my power to ensure that you get a space similar to the other communities. You get what you rightfully deserve. Because I think if we're being completely honest here tonight, and not because I'm the parliament rep, I think Malgretoute has been the most disadvantaged community in terms of access during any government's tenure, red, blue, yellow, black, white, whatever government. Malgretoute has always been disadvantaged. I consider Malgretoute to be the black sheep because everything passing, and like they just passing, and I don't know if they maybe putting it in the river and the river taking it down to Lasmabuya, but it does not come into Malgretoute. The opportunities don't filter into Malgretoute. The people of Malgretoute don't feel like they're getting access to these opportunities, and that is why I'm here tonight, to ensure that we can help fix that wrong. This is an ill that needs to be cured, and we are here to have the discussion as to what can we do to help fix these things. I want to see Malgretoute, I want Malgretoute to be on a level playing field. I want you to operate from the same wavelength with the rest of the community. I want you to be able to, the communities have, you go to Monrepo, the children can go to Teacher Johnny Park, they can sit down there, the post office is right there, they have a community center right there. You go to Micoud, they have a field, they have a health center. You go to Patience, there's a school. Malgretoute does not have nothing that they can call Malgretoute. And that is why I said tonight, I want you all to be part of the discussion as to how we build the Malgretoute that you can call Malgretoute, your Malgretoute. A Malgretoute that you are proud of, a Malgretoute that you felt like you played a part in developing. I want you to tell me what you think. As my job here is facilitator. So you tell me what you would like to see happen in Malgretoute, and I'm that bridge between central government and you, the people of Malgretoute. And I am going to do my job as a facilitator. I am going to advocate on your behalf. I think I made a good case as it relates to OECS about some of the challenges that you had to deal with, the challenges that you have had to grapple with as constituents of Malgretoute. And I explained to them that the fact that I felt that you all were a bit more disadvantaged than the rest of the community, and we need to fix this. And we need to start fixing it now. So as it relates to social activities, come to the games night on Saturday. Saturday night, we plan to have a games night right here, an activity for the entire community to just come, sit down, talk to the person that you've not seen through the week. You see, there are people in the community that you live with, and as you said, now that we're in an era of Wi-Fi, everybody's on their phone. Here is an opportunity for us to put down the phones and let's talk to people. Let's talk to our brothers, our cousins, because I know some of you have not spoken to your cousins in a while, or if you've spoken to your cousins via WhatsApp. So we have an opportunity to let's start fixing these things.
On that note, just before we entertain the next question or the follow-up question, there's an opportunity here we should not let pass by, in that we must recognize that the honorable member has your best interests at heart. This is his third town hall meeting. The first one was in Monrepo. It was followed by the second one last night in Patience, and we are here tonight in Malgretoute. But this is only the first meeting. Coming out of it immediately thereafter on Saturday, there's already plans to get into action. And on Saturday, as the honorable member mentioned, is all about the games night. And deliberately, when he thought about putting that games night together, and we were looking at what kind of games we can come up with for you lovely folks from Malgretoute, we deliberately did not focus on, for example, putting an, what's the latest game system, PlayStation 5, here with a TV screen, because we did not want it to be about persons and technology and that one on a side doing his own thing and that one over there. We wanted to be inclusive. People coming together as we did in the past. But to make it even more interesting for you folks, unlike games nights of the past where it was about an organization trying to raise some funds, Saturday's games night is all about you, and there are prizes for you. There will be prizes for the domino competition, there will be bingo prizes, there will be other prizes, but the aim of Saturday's games night is to bring Malgretoute together again as a community. Romario mentioned early on that things were happening, but only some persons knew about it. And it was kind of happening on a side. Malgretoute is not about one family. Malgretoute is not about one set of persons. It's about the community. And Saturday is where we start bringing Malgretoute together again, so we can mobilize persons for the effectiveness of projects to come. You had a follow-up question?
So for the past few years in the community, people are being unemployed. So I just want to know if there's like, how would I say that? An institution where like they could give us some advice or give us a little push. Because some people are really talented here that could open their own business. And I feel like if some of us would have the push, like a start to open our own business, that would be a great thing. Like, for example, if I open a business, other people in the community could have employment as well. So that's something that's really important, employment. Yes.
Thank you again, and earlier I would have said it, and this is a brilliant point. This is a brilliant point, and it is very important, very, very important that we create an environment where young people who are aspiring to open a business, we can provide them with the necessary support, training. And that is why I spoke about the youth economy earlier. And the youth economy affords you an opportunity to access finance, which would ordinarily be difficult to access. So whereas if you have to go to the credit union now and you need $20,000, they'll tell you need 1/3, about $6,600 or whatever it is, you would need that for it to access. With the youth economy, if you have an idea or if you have a business idea that you believe that you can turn into something real, something tangible, take some time. And what I'm going to, coming out from tonight's meeting, I think it's very important now to have a meeting, maybe just to discuss the youth economy with the young people and bring in some of the technical persons from the ministry to explain to you what it is, how you go about getting access to the funding that is available to you, because there is funding available to you. I think in the budget allocation, we allocated $10 million. About $7.8 million will be to provide direct access to finance, training, monitoring, and opportunities for young people. So there is a real opportunity in the youth economy, an opportunity for you who that want to develop your business to be able to access funding, and not just funding, because sometimes you have the idea, you know what you want to do in your head, but you cannot find the way to do it, or you don't know how to put it on paper. There are going to be people within that ministry, within that department, who are going to be tasked with the responsibility of assisting you in building a business plan, helping you develop a business plan. They're going to assist you in showing you how to have access to finance, to the initial set of finance, and to help you build, and when you grow, show you how to get access to even more finance to build and grow on your business. So there is an opportunity. I want you to know that, and you can come and see me, come to my office. But I think coming out from the meeting tonight, I think it is imperative that we do have a meeting for young people so that you know what opportunities, and I think that is one of the things Romario said. They want to know what are the opportunities available to young people, and there are real opportunities. And I can tell you that the people within the other communities, they are benefiting from these opportunities, and that is why I'm here tonight, to ensure that you, the people of Malgretoute, have an equal opportunity, an equal chance to benefit from the opportunities that are available to the ordinary solution, because you pay tax just like them. Every pound of meat you buy, every tin of milk you buy, you pay tax just like everybody. Every gallon of gas that we buy, you pay tax just like every other person in St. Lucia. And there is no reason under the sun for you to be disadvantaged just because you come from Malgretoute, when you pay tax just like every other St. Lucian. And that is why we convene meetings like that, so I can hear from you, and I can do my part to ensure that I bring these opportunities to you right where you are. We meet you at your level, and we bring the opportunities to you there.
Ms. Emmanuel, we have a young lady here, and it's always good to hear from the young folks. So I hand the mic over to her.
It's not really a concern, but a question. As a secondary school graduate, what other opportunities are there for us apart from college and scholarships and stuff like that, including sports and these other things? We keep hearing the youth economy, but we have no idea how to access it exactly. So that's my question for tonight, and I'd be happy to hear the answer.
Thank you, Casey. So as I said, there are opportunities. In terms of sports, there are quite a few opportunities that you can access through sports, especially through the school system. I know that there are some deficiencies in the system as we speak, and I must admit that we have a lot of work to do to improve, because we have a situation where most of the opportunities or most of the sports scholarships come from the north, or children from the north have, I don't want to say they have greater access, but it looks that way because when you look at the statistics, but there are serious opportunities for all of us. And even at the Micoud Secondary School, it's supposed to be one where these opportunities are supposed to be filtered or passed through the school system, through the school mechanism, and every child who goes through the walls of a secondary school should be able to have access to it. However, this is not so or it is not the way it is supposed to be. It does not happen that way. In terms of access to the youth economy, they're just putting together the office for the youth economy. They're actually setting up the administrative aspect of it. I think at the end of September, the office should be set up and running and mobile. And thereafter, the only sad thing is the office is in Castries. And that is why I always cry about decentralizing these state agencies and these institutions. Because it just says that I believe when it is in Castries, it makes it more difficult for you from Malgretoute to access. So I believe in decentralizing and having even sub-offices within our community. And that is a discussion that I've had with the Prime Minister and other cabinet colleagues to try to encourage them to have sub-offices within. Because right now, I think at the ITC Center in Micoud, there are several things that you can access. There are several, I think your ID card, your driver's license, you can renew it through the ITC Center. And we're looking to bring opportunities, decentralize them, and give people in the community, you don't have to take a bus to go to Castries. Right now, that is how it is, but we're working on trying to change the general atmosphere around this entire thing, where individuals believe that you have to go to Castries to be able to benefit from an opportunity. So there are opportunities for you, Kessie. If your plan is to go to university, there are several scholarships that are offered, and I know that the individuals who have been tasked as ambassadors within the Latin Americas and Venezuela, one of their mandate is to ensure that they're able to access more scholarships for our St. Lucian students. But when I say St. Lucian students, I want to see more children from Micoud North becoming recipients of scholarships. And I know people like you have done extremely well, and I've even given your father the assurance that we will work with you to ensure that it does not just stop there, but we give you that extra push that you need to be able to go out there and make it in this world and become a global citizen.
Just before we take on our next question, we promised to come back to Mr. McDonald, and we're going to do that in just a second. And we also have the young man across here. But Honorable Member, it's so gratifying to hear you mention the intention to make the ICT Center in Micoud a more accessible area, a more inclusive area where other services can be accessed. And it's heartening to hear you say that there are steps being planned to avoid us having to go to Castries for every single thing. We do need to access more government services in the South, and it would be even more appreciative if it can be accessed right there in Micoud and not even all the way in Vieux-Fort, which is not too far. But in Micoud, it would be quite appreciative, from as simple as a birth certificate to a passport, to almost anything, a land register, so many government services that you can only get in Castries. So again, it's commendable that you're already thinking along those lines in making these services more accessible in the south of the island, and we do appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Jean-Baptiste. And I also want to tell individuals like Kessie and the young man in front of you and Romario, what's his name? Shiv. Yes. That even little things like the youth worker, we have a youth worker assigned to the constituency, a youth worker assigned to work from, I think, Malgretoute Bridge, Prale Bridge. So she covers this entire area. I think Miss Melandra Wilson from Patience. And her job is, and I think she's at the, every Wednesday, she's stationed at the multipurpose center, at the in Monrepo, the community center in Monrepo. And her job is to be able to assist young individuals who have difficulties in writing CVs, difficulty in writing a job letter and application. And we should not have pride in these things. And we need to take advantage of these opportunities when we are presented with them. Because I know some of us, you may say, oh, but I don't know how to write a CV. I don't know how to write a job letter. And she's there. She's there every Wednesday. And she's literally begging for people to come to her to be able to assist them. And these are the things that we have to take advantage of. These are the opportunities these are the things that are going to help us build capacity within the community, is going to help us build on what we already have. So we need to take advantage of opportunities like this. And I just wanted to say that Miss Melandra Wilson is the youth officer assigned to this part of the community. And she's assigned every Wednesday. She's stationed at the Monrepo Community Center. And she's willing, more than willing. Her job, not just willing, that is her job, to assist individuals, young people, in their development, in their holistic development, from writing their CVs, job applications, whatever it is, she's going to assist you in that regard.
Okay, well, I have a question. I personally, I had here was a load of equipment, right inside here. But the attitude in the community that we need to readjust causes a lot of problems. We have started, I hope you know, we have not neglected ourselves, right, in trying to push forward. But there are opportunities like 100 acres of land up in the forest there, as you're looking for land for things. And there's a way of doing farming now. And plus you need to do farming research that other people would not access unless they probably get training from a particular group. If we miss a guitar or we need a drum set in Malgretoute, I'm saying the attitude of the people probably is not where it's supposed to be. But like the equipment I had there, right? Supposing we're missing a drum set or something, to kind of juggle the people's mind, right? Because we are musicians, as I said, I'm from here. But for little simple social issues, we are unable to benefit like from the lands that we have around, because you don't have somebody who understands farming well enough to be able to encourage the youth. Now, I'm into farming, but as you can see, I'm into music and all other stuff. Now, we need to make ourselves marketable. So we need to find a way to let all Malgretoute people know all of us can go to a university. That boundary should be broken. All of us should be able to market ourselves, right, at the end of our education, right? Like for me, it was the government who had to look for me to tell me, come, we need you, let's go and do meteorology, all right? Let's go and do this or do that. So based on what I'm doing is to prepare all children in Malgretoute that the government would come and look for you. It could be in farming or it could be in anything, but you do it to a certain level that our minister have helped us to accomplish. Because when we needed a guitar, it was possible for us to have a guitar. And as individuals in the community, we have to do our part. But you know, with the issues that we have, what we have to do is to reset the community. And so I thank you. You need to help us. Like in my agriculture, I said, I do not see the extension officer, and I'm not the only person. I think the farming, the resources we have for agriculture are being misused, and there are great opportunities, especially with people who are dedicated to farming, right? Like myself, you know, who could employ the youth in very strategic ways, not because they're farming, but because they need to get out of where they are. It could be any other stuff. So I'm encouraging you to kind of look into the micromanagement of the community in terms of farming. The extension officers are not doing their work. They are not doing their work, and it has been so for decades. And JAHIM can tell you, most of us can tell you, it is not something that they are. I call it the misery of agriculture. I call the monster in agriculture who just doesn't respond to people. And the extinction officers, they come to you when you have a few cows until you have no more cows left, no more bananas left. And we need to take it, take it from by the horn ourselves in the community and employ all our people as much as possible. That is what I want to help you to help us do. Now that we miss a drum set or something here, but I had it already, you know. But the attitude will be straightened out when you start involving people who want to do something for the community. Because the rest of the people, they're not interested in like where we're going to be able to get Malgretoute people money in their pocket in the next month. But that's what I'm talking about, in the next few weeks. And that's what the young man is talking about. And they know that there's somebody there who's willing to do it for them, but they're not too sure what to do because the minister doesn't respect him, the extension officer doesn't respect him, and so on. So I wanted to put an end to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to now say a special thank you to everyone for attending this meeting. I must admit that it was, sorry, before we close, let me take this last question.
Yes, just the very last question.
Yes.
Not a question, but just want to touch on what he said. So basically what I was going to say is that we the people of Malgretoute want to know, like, we need the assurance from y'all, because, you know, we've been neglected by other leaders. And, you know, there's the talk around the community where people saying you have to move out of Malgretoute for you to make it. So basically, we want you as the leader to basically, you know, lead. So Malgretoute could be like an empire, right? Where we could stay there and we could, you know, build up ourselves instead of getting out of there and making the community dry. So we just want to know, we just want to have the assurance from you as our leader, because we've been neglected so many times. Yes, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Chief. And I think very early in my discourse tonight, I made it very clear that one of the issues we have in Malgretoute is that anytime somebody feel like they're achieved, they feel that there's a need to leave the community. And my hope and my dream, and I'm giving you the assurance that I will work with you. I cannot do it by myself. I give you the assurance that I will work with you all in the community to create a Malgretoute where you don't feel like you ever want to leave. A Malgretoute where you feel proud to be born, and for giving us your time, coming and listen to and having a conversation with me. Thank you for sharing your ideas. I must tell you that I wrote down your concerns. I wrote down some of the ideas that you shared. We will continue the conversation as it relates to some of the developments that I mentioned. We need to find a way, and I will make it my duty and my office duty to come to you all to find out what is the best way for us to disseminate information in this community so that everybody is informed as to the developments happening in the community. So I just want to say a big thank you to you all. Thank you for giving me a listening ear tonight. And as I said, I promise you that this is not the last meeting. I am your servant, and I want you to be able to judge me as I go along. Tell me where it is that I'm falling short, where you think I can do better, what I can do to help you in the community. And I also want to encourage you as constituents of Malgretoute to play your role in developing your community. So with that, I say thank you and good night. I'll hand over to the Master of Ceremonies, or Mistress of Ceremonies. My apologies.
Thank you. I just want to end with a note. 2 Corinthians 13:11 says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, rejoice. Strive for full restoration. Encourage one another. Be of one mind. Live in peace. And the Lord of peace will be with you." So with that, Cassie will give the vote of thanks. Thank you.
My people of Malgretoute, a blessed night to you all. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this meeting to all dignitaries assembled here. I would like to thank our district representative, Honorable Jeremiah Norbert, who honored this meeting with his inspirational thoughts and listened to our concerns and solutions. Special thanks to the Mistress and Master of Ceremony for your active engagement for facilitating the meeting. Also, Studio 911, we appreciate your live coverage of this event. To you, Mr. John, thank you for allowing us to use this space. My heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who came to exchange your thoughts and communicate with the rep in an effort to make Malgretoute a better community, not just for you, but for the future of Malgretoute as well. As I end, I leave with you this inspiring quote by Martin Luther King. An individual has not started living until he rises above the confines of his individualistic concerns towards the broader concerns of all humanity. Once again, I thank you all for your undivided attention.
And just before we leave this place, 2 quick reminders. Remember, we reassemble here on Saturday for games night. Scrabbles, dominoes, Uno, Ludo, checkers, bingo, prizes, good times, good company, drinks, food, entertainment. Saturday, make here the place to be. And just before we leave, Mr. Norbert mentioned early on that he has been in conversation with the OECS Commission and persons who are interested in assisting Malgretoute. And to show how interested they are, we welcome them here in Malgretoute tonight. They are already here to hear from you, They've been listening to your suggestions, your ideas, your queries, your comments, and they are so impressed with you folks that they have already even provided refreshments. So the OECS is here, and they have refreshments for you lovely folks. And thank you so much for coming out in such large numbers, for being present, for making it happen, for sharing your concerns, and let's have ourselves a little good time as we reunite, regroup to make Malgretoute what it should have been many, many years ago. Thank you so very much.
Rastafari